Hi guys, let's talk about assignment 1. Alright, think about the question, is Australia an information society? We're taking a theory, a concept, the information society, and we're comparing it to something. We're comparing it to Australia, Australian society. So if we're going to make that comparison, we need to understand what we're comparing. We need to have a fairly clear understanding of what we mean by the information society, for example, in order to look at Australia and make that kind of comparison. And this is where the Bawden and Robinson chapter can provide you with a helpful framework. There's something there for us to draw on. Now, I suggested some ideas on this in my last video, but the Bawden and Robinson chapter draws out some of those ideas and expands upon them. Now, there is a lot in the chapter, so let's try and narrow down what you might focus on, what you might prioritize. The ideas from the very start of the chapter, from page 231 up to the top half of 234, those are particularly important, okay, and we'll drill down into those ideas now. So Bawden and Robinson suggest 5 perspectives on how we might think about the information society theory. They suggest that we could think about it in economic terms, or in occupational terms, or in technological terms, or political terms, and finally socio-cultural terms. Okay, so those are 5 different ways that we might look at the theory. There are different angles that we might look at that theory from. Okay. Now, those 5 perspectives might act as some of the fundamental structures for your assignment. You could work with those 5 perspectives. There's lots more in the chapter that you might draw on, but I think you could do that a little more selectively. But building in those 5 perspectives, I think, would be really important, because they provide you with some sort of definition for the information society that you can then build on and hold up as a mirror to Australian society. Okay, so they're really helpful to you in making that comparison. In the last video, I noted a number of readings that I'd be circulating, and I did that in the transcript for the video. And I think if you looked at those readings, you'll get a sense of some of the perspectives that Bawden and Robinson introduce. So those readings act as perhaps the evidence for some of the perspectives, some of the ways of looking at the information society that Bawden and Robinson offer. So you might build on Bawden and Robinson by drawing in some of those readings as evidence, as support for some of the positions that they're suggesting. Now, there's no one answer to this question. I'm not expecting one definitive answer from you in terms of the kinds of submissions that we're going to see. I think there'll be a range of perspectives. But let's talk about what's important for a moment. What we're looking for is that we're seeing emerging evidence of conceptual understanding. So we want to see that you're starting to get your head around a theoretical construct, this concept, the information society as a concept. Okay, then we want to see that you can link an abstract concept with a real world setting, with current events, with the phenomena that we're seeing around us. Then we want to see that you can communicate that understanding, that you can build a case for the argument that you're making, and that you can use supporting material to help build that case. And we also want to see that you are drawing on a range of research materials in formulating your own coherent position. And And that's particularly important if you want to move up through the grading scale. We'll need to see that you are moving beyond the subject material, moving beyond the readings that are provided for you, that you're undertaking some sort of independent research process, that you're assessing material, that you're synthesizing a range of perspectives into your own position. And obviously supporting that position with referencing. So we want to see that you've undertaken some sort of independent research journey. And this assignment is where you start joining up the dots. You're linking what we see happening around us with an overarching perspective, a framework that helps us not just understand, but explain what it is that we're seeing happening around us. So it helps us understand and explain why car manufacturing is declining in Australia, why our children are taking a new digital technology curriculum at school, why kids under 5 are using an iPad. Why is all that happening? What sense can we make of these events? Now, why is this important for you? Well, what we see happening around us becomes increasingly important when we're making strategic decisions, when we're making decisions about how we do our jobs, about how we deliver services, about what services it is that we deliver to user communities, for instance. And this is where we're going to go next with assignment 2. So everything that you do in working towards assignment 1 will have some sort of payoff in assignment 2. You're laying the foundations here, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves at this stage. So focus on providing a framework for some current events, filter in the readings that you've been working on, demonstrate some sort of independent research process, formulate a coherent argument, draw some conclusions. You'll be fine.